All right, so the Wright brothers in 1903 at Kitty Hawk, they made the first flight, apparently. Well, they were going into 20-mile-per-hour headwinds, otherwise they'd have never made it off the ground. They had to make one wing larger than the other to make up for the weight of the 211-pound engine. Um, this engine got like 11 horsepower. The first airplane engine purpose built for flight was the manly-balzer engine, designed here in the United States of America in the 1800s, before the first flight. This engine did not weigh 211 pounds or anything even closely approaching it. Matter of fact, it resembled later monococque designs by the French Leron Company and, of course, the Gnome Company of Germany. Um, there was a guy named Anthony Fokker. He was one of the most famous airplane designers of World War II. He designed the Fokker DR-1. That's the Fokker Drydecker. That stands for 3 sets of wings. That's the one that the Red Baron is most famous for. However, the best manufactured airplanes of World War, or, I'm sorry, I'm talking about World War One, not World War Two. um, the Albatross Company. They made an airplane called the Albatross. The Albatross is actually the airplane that the Red Baron got the most kills in. He was shot down in a DR-1. They've also got the one that got Fokker famous, and that is the Fokker Eindecker, which is basically a Marine Saulnier, which is a French airplane that has a different tail. Anthony Fokker was, well, he was good at accumulating great designers. He was not such a great designer himself, and his manufacturing quality wasn't that great. Most of his airplanes were not created by him or his company, were not manufactured by him or his company. They were in small numbers, but it was actually the Albatross company that ended up making most of Fokker's airplanes. This is because they could produce them of better quality. It's like if you were to take a Volkswagen Beetle from Mexico and ask the Lamborghini company to make your Volkswagens now. Well, now you've got Volkswagens being manufactured in Mexico, and you've got Volkswagens being manufactured by Lamborghini. Which one's going to be of the higher quality? It's a good question. Now, the important thing about the Albatross is that the man who created the company streamlined the design so that it could be made out of basically molded body parts that are just glued or nailed together. This is called monococque. This is where basically it's molded into the shape that you want already, and you just attach it. Um, it can be said that war brings the mother of necessity. Um, there's a whole story behind that. I don't really feel like going into it, but we produce so many things that could do us so much good in peace, but during peace we don't care. It's during war, when it's necessary, that we really pour a lot of money and resources into that kind of stuff, which is, well, extremely sad to me, because we could make a much better world just by trying when it doesn't involve killing others. If World War One hadn't happened, none of those airplane things would have come about when they did. It probably would have taken another 30 to 60 years of development without war in order to get airplanes from where they were at 1903 to where they were in 1918. The reason for that is because, well, every year they made more advancements, became more warlike. Now, if we'd have taken a manly-balzer engine and put it on a monococque fighter um, of Anthony Fokker design, we could have had much better airplanes without war. I mean, the manly-balzer engine could be converted to utilize multiple different types of fluids, multiple different types of fuels. I mean, really, you could convert most piston engines into steam piston engines pretty easily just because of the way the valves are set up. There was a man in Chicago who actually showed that by changing the where the cams are set, you can actually run the thing off of straight steam through the carburetor. Um, I would imagine on something like that, you would actually want to remove the carburetor. But as far as the flow goes, it would basically be the same thing. You're using the carburetor to restrict the flow of air. In the case of making it a steam engine, you're using that very same carburetor concept to restrict the flow of steam. Um, so basically, a lot of my designs are based off of things that already exist. Going all the way back to the Elopile, I don't even know how to pronounce that. That's Heron's steam ball. It's over 2,000 years old. Um, they say that it was the first steam engine, but it never powered anything. And you would have to wait 2,000 years, almost 2,000 years before steam would power anything. That is not true. There were a lot of inventions that the guy created that ran off of steam. Things that moved large metal objects. There was another Greek inventor. He was actually Egyptian, believe it or not, from the city of Alexandria. Greek Egyptian, of course, but he invented the ability to turn air into sound. He invented the hand pump. I'm not sure if you guys are real familiar with Stebius, Cstebius, but a lot of the ancient technologies that I study, there's a reason I study it. I want to give my inventions to the world for free. In order to do that, I actually have to prove that I didn't invent it. I have to prove that somebody else invented it thousands of years ago. So it can never be patented. That way it's free to everyone. A lot of the stuff that I research, it's older than 100 years for a reason. It's because if people hold patents on it, they can prevent you from doing anything with it. If they have a patent that's similar, they can try to prevent you from doing anything with it. If you don't have money, you can't fight it, which means the Westinghouse always wins. That's a big problem for Tesla. You should ask him about it. So, you got the people who invent this stuff and create this stuff and are trying to make the world a better place, like Tesla. Then you get people like Westinghouse and Edison who actually have money. So the guys with the great ideas now have to go to the people with the money, and the people with the money benefit from it. While the people with the ideas, well, they usually die in poverty. We can make this world a better place. You can be the hero for your kid that you needed growing up. You can also change the world if you work together. If you think you're going to do it all by yourself, you're SOL. If you want to say you did it all by yourself, well, keep in mind we don't live on a planet of one. You can't even make bread without help. Did you go out and harvest the wheat? Did you grind it? Did you mill it? Did you do all of that stuff in order to make your own bread? Did you bake it yourself? Did you make your own oven? Never mind whether or not you know how. The fact is, did you? This world will become a better place when we make it that way. That takes sacrifice. Pointing a gun at another person is not sacrifice. It's just cruelty. If we only shot people in self-defense, nobody would ever get shot. If every single person on planet Earth said, I'm not going to point a gun at another human being unless they point one at me first, if every person on the planet thought that way, nobody would ever have a gun pointed at them. We should provide in peace what we do in war. If we spend as much time and resources on being peaceful, on treating people good, instead of punishing them for their imperfections, we'd live in a much better world.